Welcome to this week's vlog, and I want to tell you this week about a rather unusual experience that I had. At least it was unusual for me. But let me begin by asking you about ways you think that God might speak to us. Well, the obvious ways he speaks through the Bible. That's probably the most significant way God speaks through the Bible. As we read the Bible, as we meditate on it, God speaks to us through it. It can speak to us through other Christians, just in general conversation when we perhaps in a home group tossing over a Bible verse or passage, or when we're at church and somebody's speaking to us from the Bible. Lots of different ways that we can learn from one another as disciples of Jesus. Obviously, the Holy Spirit speaks to us. That's one of the reasons that the Holy Spirit is given to believers in Jesus, so that he would guide us and lead us, speak to us the words of God through prayer, because prayer is not only us speaking to God, but God speaking to us if we will give him time. In fact, I've just heard on a YouTube clip of Pete Greig, who founded the 24/7 prayer movement, said that we open ourselves for God to speak more and more as we take times to be still. Psalm 46 verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." So when we take out time out of our busy routines, we give time for God to speak to us. But he could speak to us in lots of different ways. He can speak to us through circumstances. One of the ways, perhaps more unusual, that God can speak to us is through dreams. We find a few cases in the scriptures, in the Bible, where God speaks to a person through a dream. He spoke to Jacob in the story of Jacob's ladder. He spoke to Daniel as he was in exile. God spoke to him. To Joseph. God spoke both Joseph in the Old Testament, Joseph, and to Joseph, who was married to Mary, the mother of Jesus. God spoke to him through a dream also. God spoke to Pontius Pilate's wife, through a dream, and as a result she warned Pilate not to condemn Jesus to death. Sadly, in some ways, Pilate ignored his wife's advice, but God had spoken to her through a dream. And I don't ever remember God speaking to me directly through a dream, though I may have had that experience and forgotten, but it seems that God spoke to me this week through a dream. Let me share that with you. We have a friend who we've known for a very, very long time, many years, but who I haven't seen for quite a number of years. Our friend has been going through a really tough time, really difficult time, a harrowing, distressing time. I don't need to go into the details of that. And I knew that our friend was, having this tough time, which they have had for some time. Anyway, I had a dream one night this week, in which my friend appeared. I haven't really particularly thought about my friend for a while, but there they were in this dream, and along with other people. But I noticed that my friend was very, very sad in the dream. And anyway, I woke up and I remembered the dream. When I woke up, often I have dreams and forget them, but this one I remembered. And later in that, it seems a bit strange to say to somebody, "You appeared in one of my dreams." It's a bit of a weird thing to say, but I felt it was right. I felt prompted to share this experience with my friend. So I sent them a message to say that I had this dream. In the dream, they were very sad, and I know that they've been going through a really tough time. And I just wanted to say that they continue to be in our thoughts and prayers, and sending love from myself and my wife Sue. And I just sent that off, but I didn't know what response I'd get, but I sent it off. And a little bit later I got a response thanking me for my message, and saying that my friend had just had this wave of grief flowing into their life, at that particular moment. And they said this: I was crying out to God and he let me know that he hears me. So I was a bit embarrassed about sending this message saying that my friend had appeared in a dream, but obviously it was the right time. It was of God. And it brought comfort, some comfort, I think, to my friend. And there's two messages, or 2 points I want to emphasize from that experience. The first is this: that God is a God who speaks to us. He's a God who loves to communicate with us. Yes, to hear our prayers, but also to speak to us. As I've said, there's many different ways God speaks. But the question is, are we listening? Are we open to hear what God says? And when God does speak to us, are we ready to respond in the appropriate manner? So God speaks. Are we listening? The second point is this: that when we're crying out in our times of distress, in our times of darkness, in our times of brokenness, and we feel all alone, we need to be encouraged that God hears our prayers. God hears our cries. God is with us. He understands what we're going through. He's not a remote, faraway God who is immune to our situation, but a God who draws near, a God who understands, a God who loves. So we're never alone. Yeah, we may go through those dark periods, excuse me, but we're never there on our own. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. So God speaks to us and God hears our cries. That should bring us great encouragement. So thanks so much for listening today. God bless you.